So always with these events, you don't know quite what the speech is beforehand, so you write this and then you have to edit it quickly. But this is such a huge privilege to receive this from you, Jane, and thank you so much. And you don't want to believe everything that Alistair Fothergill tells you about me. But that said, the bit about the never being more than 100 meters away from a gin and tonic, I now insist that that goes in the sort of the risk assessment form. Because actually you can imagine if you're in the Serengeti and you get more than 100 meters away from gin and tonic, that's a dangerous situation indeed. I've had a charmed life making wildlife films. It's a crazy job, and often when people ask me, so what do you do, Keith? And I say, well, I sit for a very long time in a Land Rover waiting for some lion to murder a wildebeest, and that often is our kind of job. But I have been away for a lot of my kind of life, and now I've got this granddaughter now, and my daughter-in-law says, how did Liz, your wife, cope with you being away all this time? And I look at how difficult it is to raise a granddaughter, and I think, oops. She's here tonight, and I owe her an enormous amount. Most of my career was with the BBC. I worked with some great people. Some of you older people here will remember them. Ron Neal, Glenwyn Benson, the wonderful Jana Bennett, John Willis, Peter Salmon, just to name a few. And they taught me everything. I left the BBC, set up Silverback Films, and now work for Jane and Sarah at All Three Media. And they're great, but they're also very, very funny and very entertaining, and that makes telly great, doesn't it? There are two other people I have been a big, big part of my life. There's Alistair, Alistair Fothergill. He did the original Blue Planet, Planet Earth, Frozen Planet. He's the great in our business. But in the Natural History Unit, we worked very, very closely together for a long time. And when I left the BBC, we decided that we wanted to actually set up a company that not only made great wildlife series and feature films and what have you, but also tried to make an impact on the natural world. And that's what we've set out to do. And I think we've probably achieved those kind of goals. The other guy I've worked with is Sir David Attenborough. And I remember I was this sort of postgraduate student. This was back in 1981. Now, for some of you, that's a long time ago. And it was the BBC Bristol canteen. And the producer I was working with, Adrian Warren, said, oh, let's go over and meet David. And in 1981, they wanted him to be Director General of the BBC. He'd been the Managing Director of Television. David was he's a very big, powerful guy anyway, but he was a giant of the BBC. And I remember this rather terrifying kind of lunch when I was sat next to him, and he had finished his lunch, and I still had to eat mine. And you get to that kind of point where picking up a knife and fork, and it gets all kind of a bit edgy. Anyway, and he said, don't worry, it's rather difficult to eat in front of others, isn't it? So that was the first time I met David. But if someone had said, in 2025, we're going to be making films together, we probably would have been a bit incredulous. But that's what we're doing, and I think we've saved some of the best for last. And actually this afternoon, I watched, we'd just done a piece to camera with David, and the rushes came back, and which is 99-year-old guy, sort of delivering a piece. And I thought, wow, he's still got it. And anyway, I've had a huge time with David. I think the greatest gift that I got from David, and I think a lot of us, you might not know it, but we all share what he did in the 60s and 70s. Because at that time, when he was running BBC Two and managing director of television, he basically created the landscape, which is modern television, BBC television as an exec. And one thing I hope he's never forgotten for is that, because he's a fantastic wildlife presenter, but what he did for the television industry in creating that landscape is incredible. And part of what he did was he put specialist factual on the television map. He put, whether it's science, the arts, everything. And that gave me my whole career. And really, natural history wouldn't be where it is. And I've lived off natural history. And as time has gone by, it's become international. And it's drawn in all this huge money from the rest of the world. And the shows have been shown across the world. And I do think global conservation, without David's legacy in these wildlife films, would not be in the place it is today. So that is a huge gift. Very recently, the funding from the rest of the world is faltering. There's no doubt about it. And I think David's great gift to us all is in danger. And we'll find a way through it, but I think it'll take, the British television industry, which is very strong, especially with institutions like the Royal Television Society. We will get through it, but it will need all of us together to keep David's dreams alive. And it's a huge pleasure for me, because of all of that, to become part of the RTS with this fellowship. And so thank you very much.